Hi everyone, I'm Neha, Marketing and Communications Manager at Involve. I'm so excited to be speaking to Bongumesiya Simelane from BAT. Messia is one of our Enable Role Model List role models, and she's based in Cape Town, South Africa. Hi Messia. So please tell us a little about your career journey until this point.
So I graduated from the University of Johannesburg in 2018. I'd done a business degree and I specialized in marketing management. I was very active in disability advocacy, right? Encouraging accessibility. We worked on how you knock off disability-related stigma. We had a couple of events and activities where we got the university students and staff involved, just to show them a day in the life of for example, wheelchair-bound person, a blind student, a hard of hearing student, and we'd have a couple of games just to sensitize them and to allow them to better cater for persons with disabilities. While doing all of that, I also held down some part-time jobs in order to support myself and my family, of course. So, from working at the university's call center to be student assistant, and on my holidays, I'd do VAC work at some companies. It was a busy time, but I think all of that paid off because I gained so much needed work experience and I learned some soft skills as well. And in my final year of university, we had a multinational by the name of Colgate-Palmolive come through and give us a business simulation project. And I was one of the students who were actually recruited at this point to come and work for them in their grad program. I was with them. I worked in marketing. I worked in retail as well as customer development for just under 2 years. And, that was the perfect landing into corporate that I got. Post that, I wanted to be a bit independent and move out of hometown. So I headed off to Cape Town, where I got into highly sought after global graduate program at another multinational, being BAT. There I worked in marketing and sales. And, after completing the program successfully, I moved into a project manager role. And that's where I managed the end-to-end process of new product innovations. And that was between 2020 and 21. And last year, I was promoted to my current role at British American Tobacco, where I work as a consumer insights executive. And in that role, I focus on data analysis and consumer research. It's been very fruitful, challenging, and eye-opening thus far, but, I aspire to grow and achieve so much more still.
Who is your role model and why?
So in terms of role model, I'm inspired by, several people. I think of, my younger years and, high school and so on. I was so motivated by other persons with disabilities who were successful and driven. For example, there's a guy by the name of Samkelo Khatebe. His disability is he's armless, but he's an advocate of the High Court in South Africa. There have been blind students, who have gotten their degrees summa cum laude. Those are the guys that have inspired my journey. But on a personal front, I have to give props to my mother. Raising a special needs child, I don't think is easy at all while trying to juggle a career of your own. So I think I owe my success to that group of people, definitely.
What's the biggest risk you've ever taken, and what's your greatest career achievement?
So I'd certainly say moving into a new city without any family, without any relatives, to pursue a career that I'm currently thriving at has to be my biggest achievement. Coming from a place where I had all the assistance and the support that I required, to living alone and being totally independent while trying to establish myself in corporate has been a great one.
In a short sentence, what would you tell your 18-year-old self if they could see you now?
I'd tell my 18-year-old self that all the hard work will pay off. I'd certainly say don't be too hard on yourself. I'm a firstborn child, and true to form, as firstborns, we normally put a lot of pressure on ourselves, because we are the leaders. We need to exude exemplary behavior, right? And that attitude, has led me to be so terrified earlier, right? And sometimes scared to pick up a hand and say I need help. So I definitely say, ease up a bit. It's going to be okay.
How has your personal journey shaped the way you navigate your career?
Living with a disability in a developing country, no less, you quickly learn that the world isn't built for you, right? Whether it be a lack of amenities, inaccessibility to public infrastructure, the high cost of assistive devices like wheelchairs, canes, prosthetics, these are some of the challenges that we face, but also we aren't exempt from life's other challenges, and so being able to overcome all of that has, taught me to be resilient. And I think those happen to be very essential skills in multinational FMCGs that I've worked in, because the environment is so fast paced. It's dynamic, ever changing consumer needs and so on. So I believe that the challenges that I've endured in my life have prepared me for my current work environment.
What's one myth or misconception surrounding disability that you want to see debunked?
There are many myths around disability, but one in particular that comes to mind is the fact that all disabilities can be seen, right? So whenever somebody mentions disability, what normally pops up, first in our heads is somebody on a wheelchair, somebody using a cane or on crutches or something like that, right? But there are many forms of disability, right? Disabilities can be cognitive, they can be mental, and others may be hidden, until someone discloses that they have a disability. And I believe that unseen disabilities should be as prioritized as much as visible disabilities. And we need to work on the stigma that surrounds a lot of the invisible disabilities. Yeah.
How has connecting globally with people in other countries or regions influenced your thinking or approach?
So working at a global company allows me to connect with people from different regions and different countries on a regular basis, right? And this gives me an opportunity to interact with people who have different perspective, they have a different frame of reference. And what that's done for me is it's given me exposure, right, to different cultures, different ways of thinking, and it grows you as a person, and it also has broadened my thinking quite a lot. So
How do you think driving inclusion in South Africa differs from other parts of the world? Are there unique challenges or opportunities?
definitely. So the fact that South Africa is still a developing country, right? By virtue of that, it means that there is opportunity to drive inclusion. I'll take something like infrastructure, for example. All right. Legislation for buildings, right? We need to ensure that we drive the message and we land the message that, hey, your building needs to be accessible to X, Y, and Z needs, right? And with a lot of building and developing taking place, we do have that opportunity to cement that, to go to companies and say, these are the laws that the country has around disability. We are advocating for equal and inclusive employment, and make sure that as the country establishes itself, people with various disabilities are included, and it's all embedded in our corporate culture, in government as well.
What are two pieces of key practical advice that you would give business leaders and allies to drive disability inclusion in business?
People with disabilities should be included in discussions about them, right? So there should be representation when disability discussions are held. So for example, I'll bring about infrastructure again, right? Somebody is constructing a building and they want to build a ramp, right? So if you want to have a ramp, there's an architect, that's busy with dimensions. It would be prudent to have somebody on a wheelchair come and test out, the prototype of the ramp, or, in its inception phase, so that you know that the ramp is going to work for somebody with a disability. So don't make a decision about someone with a wheelchair when they aren't in the room, right? And I believe also making disability inclusion an ongoing agenda and not just a single annual campaign or discussion is also very vital, right? So, for example, I think of mental health, right? Mental Health Awareness Month. That's where you see a lot of campaigning, a lot of visibility of mental health awareness. But for example, we could have pop-ups on our screens, right, on a daily at 12 o'clock. It could come up and say, have you taken that stretch? Have you taken a walk? Breathe, something like that. So it needs to be ongoing. Is what I believe.
Thanks so much for speaking with me, Messiah, and sharing your journey with us.